Hey folks, walk with me. Anthony Bourdain, one of my absolute favorite people to inhabit planet Earth at some of the same time as me. And I miss his shows, I miss his perspective, I miss his authenticity. And I just wanted to put out a brief note about why that is, what sort of his art and his output meant to me in particular. One thing that stands out is he was a later in life personality or success. Personality success, I guess. Meaning, he didn't really find success with his writing and his shows and everything until he was in his 40s. I'm going off of memory there, so I hopefully have that correct, but I'm almost positive that that's the case. And he had toiled away for quite a while, and I haven't seen anything where he gets into this in any great detail, but I suspect, just given at least who he seemed to be from a public's perspective, I suspect that he had some sort of troubled past. Not to use a buzzword, but I'm going to use it correctly. I suspect that he had some sort of trauma that he had experienced, or, maybe plural, but at least some sort of trauma that he had experienced and spent a lifetime wrestling with. And then he found wild success that 99.9% don't find. And he was absolutely beloved. And one thing that he said that I thought was, it just stood out to me so strongly, was in an interview I had watched. He said that, he obviously had been sort of down in the dumps for a lot of his life. He had drug addiction issues. He had issues, I think he said he never paid his rent on time, right? He, never had money. He was always feels weird to say a starving chef, but he was he was somebody who struggled immensely to just live in society, I think, and do normal things like pay your rent. And but he said, as it sort of correlated to his finding success later in life, he said there was something in him, even with all of the challenges and struggles that he had, even with the decades and decades of, not having sort of this springboard to success, there was something in him that always said to not give up on himself, that there was something in him that was worth continuing to fight for. And if you have a traumatic past, or if you struggle with addiction or depression or whatever, I think a sentiment like that will hit you quite hard and will stick with you strongly. And it's such an admirable space to try to fill and maintain. And he did it for as long as he could, and then he couldn't, right? But I think his, obviously he grew very famous. He grew, I assume, very wealthy. But he just seemingly maintained at least, this counterculture kind of punk aesthetic and demeanor. And you could tell when you saw him with the people who he considered friends, like his French friend, the sort of the genuine quality of those relationships, but at the same time you could see some level of discomfort in having that genuine, authentic relationship and and meaningful closeness to another person. And, that also hits home really hard with me. And so I just think, if there were a person who struggled mightily and did amazing things in the face of it, and also, maintained that for the entirety of their public-facing life, that's a really special thing. That doesn't happen very often at all. And his shows and his writing, I think, were magnificent. One thing I think about probably more frequently than I should is he would be such a good voice to have in the US today, from the perspective of talking about how divisive everything has become, and how at each other's throats people are. And I think his voice right now would go a long, 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 long way, and would mean a lot. And that's the point where I feel like it's most missed for me. But this is just to say, people who never met you, people that you never knew existed, loved you, Tony, and thank you for everything that you did. I don't know how to end this, but I will just take it in its normal course. So, I hope that you... I don't know what day this is coming out. I hope that you're enjoying your weekend, or you're close to the weekend or something, I think. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.